The soul continues to live many lifetimes. Each lifetime, it generates one spirit. So you could be the same soul, but you have multiple different spirits in different lifetimes. This page here is super important. This page here talks about period 9. But the true period 9 has already begun since... Welcome to part 2 to the introduction to the Destiny Explorer 2.1. Now, in this short video, I want to show you the section of your Destiny Explorer that talks about the soul, spirit, and wealth profiles, as well as the energy platforms, the energy, vibrational energies of your Pazi chart. Now, so on your main page, the main home page or the natal chart page, there will be a button that says SSW or energies. So SSW stands for the soul, spirit, and wealth. Now, you may think, oh, wealth isn't talking about money, luck here specifically. Well, I want you to see wealth as the body or the material representation, a manifestation of, number one, material wealth, but also intellectual wealth. It also represents relationship as your wealth, the connections that you have. It can also represent your body, your health as your wealth, and also represents basically anything that is dear to you or your accumulation of what you deem as your most valuable assets, okay? So a lot of people have different things that is regarded as wealth for them, although material wealth is one aspect of it. So for some people who are especially now moving on to in the period 9 cycle, since it's a wellness and spiritual era where a lot of people are talking about raising their consciousness, awakening their mind, studying meditation, connecting to the divine spirit, then this part of Pazi becomes very important to them, and that is the mind palace and the soul palace. The mind palace represents your spirit. Now, the mind is independent of your conscious soul. Okay, many people think it's the same thing. So my thoughts, then they become attached to your thoughts. But in Pazi, you already know that your thoughts are not you. If you want to clearly see your thoughts as separate from you, then actually Pazi makes it very easy. You can actually look at the mind palace. That represents your spirit. Your original soul, your consciousness, your soul or your divine self has its own pillar, and that's the conception palace. Now, there are many ways to read the conception palace, but this is one of the ways that I find that most resonate with the true meaning of the divine self or the soul that is incorporated into, the womb, into the embryo, becoming a baby, birth into this world. The soul continues to live many lifetimes. Each lifetime, it generates one spirit. So you could be the same soul, but you have multiple different spirits in different lifetimes. Now, this is a long discussion in the theory of Pazi and the theory of consciousness and evolution of consciousness. But for a Pazi practitioner, if you want to see the influence of this, but it's for some people, like, okay, reading the animal science and this is a bit complex. It takes this information right here and converts this into this. Now, in this format, it takes the soul palace and makes a reflection based on the 10 stars or the 10 deities to come up with the 10 different sort of essence of the soul. Okay, so another word for the soul will be your consciousness or your higher self. So if you're studying that part of spiritual studies, then these keywords will make sense to you, obviously. Of course, if you're not into that studies, then this obviously won't be a piece of information you'd be using, okay? So let's do a zoom in so you can see. So the soul can be pure intelligence, it could be consciousness, it could be sacredness, it could be omniscience, omnipresence, infinity, light, omnipotence, oneness, creativity. So it sort of divides the essences to low energy, healthy energy, intense energy, so that when in your own cultivation and training, you know which areas to work on and which areas that you are possibly needing more energy or where you're already very in tune with in this particular lifetime, if you're studying that, of course, okay? Now, of course, in the spirit form, spirit means spirit forms your mind, okay? So if you're talking about mind, it's also part of it makes up your spirit self, right? So it talks about the intellect, the purpose, the karmic memory, imagination, perception, expression, intuition, the ego, the essence, the discernment. So this part here also has low energy or healthy energy or intense energy. It sort of explains, the various aspects, so you know which areas to work on. So it sort of summarizes it for you, makes it easy to read. And of course, the wealth profiles. Now, these wealth profiles takes into consideration your wealth palace. Now, there are 12 palaces in a person's Pazi chart, as you know. So one of them is your wealth palace. So we call this your accumulation, your achievement palace. So when we take that and reflect it into its 10 different deities or 10 different stars, then you will have the artisan, the rational, the saver, the striver, the idealist, and so forth. And we also see which aspects are the best styles for you to accumulate your wealth or accumulate your success in this lifetime. Okay, so this makes it easy for anyone to use Pazi in that sense, instead of trying to calculate it manually by hand. Okay, now this page here is super important. This page here talks about period 9. Now, period 9 is a very interesting period. It's coming it's from 2024 all the way to 2043. That's what everyone refers as period 9. But the true period 9 has already begun since 2017. If you follow the early heaven hexagram, early heaven trigram of period 9. So it goes from 2017 to 2025. That's the first quadrant, the upper segment of period 9. The middle segment of period 9 is 2026 to 2034, and then 2035 to 2043 is the lower segment of period 9. So if you take the soul and divide it into 3 quadrants, then you will be able to see how the energy changes in this cycle, the next years from all the way until 2043, the period 9 cycle, ups or downs, because there's no energy remains the same, right? So there's fluctuations in different periods of time. If you zoom in further, there are actually 5 different phases within each line to tell you the details of where and which aspects you can work on during that period of time. And that's the same for the spirit energy as well. They're reflected across the period 9 cycle, as well as the profiles for wealth reflected across the 9 cycles. So this part here is called the SSW, the soul, the spirit, and the wealth profiles for a person's chart based on the Pazi. And there's another page here that a lot of practitioners in Pazi who specifically talk about energies in reflection to the 12 palaces. So if you want a different approach to looking at the Pazi, instead of just saying, okay, I need to think about what are the mentors or wealth luck or destiny luck, and how do I reflect that in terms of keywords, right? Keywords for a reading. Because sometimes that's the thing, right? Remembering all the stuff from the books is not so easy. So what if there are keywords to assist you in doing the reading? So that's why I thought we'll make it easy if we can take this page and summarize it this way. Okay, so let's say now when the person is asking about give me a reading onto, let's say, children, right? So if we look at the children, it's a 5% thing in the chart. That means it means that in this 1 year, then children aspect is not such a great improvement. There's probably 5%, not one of the best aspects to work on. But if you have to take notice, then children's education, children's health, their discipline, children relationship, children in terms of disappointment. So there are keywords for you. And if you look at the highest percentage, the best areas to work on, because there's the plus 27%, it gives you straight away you can advise, okay, in terms of your children, focus on the education aspect of that. If you're dealing with children luck, for example, right? Or you may say, okay, I am talking about mentors. Okay, so mentorship is 46% this year. Okay, not bad, right? 46% is pretty good. Which aspect should I work on? Let's see here. There's competition, coaching, experts, looking for experts or challenger or peers. So where do I see? Oh, actually it's in change. Change is 31% this year. So I can focus on, okay, I think I can ask my mentor to help me with the transition to change to maybe a different field, different format, different structure. So there's a keyword, key aspect for you to work on. It sort of summarizes the thing, so you don't have to like, what do I do with mentors, right? So it gives it a simplified format for people to use Pazi. Now, there's also a monthly aspect as well. If you want to do annual or the month, You can specifically look at maybe March or June or April. If someone is asking you specifically, okay, I'm talking about July, so what do I do in July? What do I do, right? So there's keywords here for you to discuss. And here is another aspect of a person's chart. We can take a person's life and look at in terms of life purpose, financial aspects, relationship, family, wellness, and contribution. And in that aspect, we can see 4 different perspectives. The natal, which is a fixed chart, the luck pillar, which talks about this 10 years, the annual, which is this 1 year, and month, which is this particular month, in all 6 different areas of life. So always, my preference is work on areas that are stronger, take note or be cautious of areas that are weaker. So work on your strengths and be cautious of the weakness. So if someone say, okay, what should I be careful of this year that could be a problem? Well, then I look at the annual, and I see annual, oh, this one drops by 20%. Contribution drops by 20%. That means maybe this 1 year, you're not being compassionate enough. Maybe you're not making an impact enough. Maybe your work, you're not contributing outwards. You're not making a difference. In fact, you're focusing too much on the me this year. So we can look at that aspect. Or someone may say, okay, which areas would be beneficial this year? Would finance be okay? Well, looking at finance, oh, there's a drop in 50% this year as well. So which means that if you're not so careful, they could impact your overall financial income or accumulation this year by 15%. So you want to look at your costs, you want to look at this, there's that. So there's sort of a indication there, okay? Now, how would you feel in a certain year? What are your emotional, vibrational energies for 1 year? So what, can you see that? Oh, yes. You can look at the emotional energy cycles for the entire month, okay? So at a certain point in time where the fear for 11th of March, for example, is at 90%. So wow, 11th March, 90% fear. So maybe at the time you're making decisions, you might be making out of fear. And that may put you in a position where you're going to make wrong decisions. So maybe I don't want to make those decisions on those days, or I don't want to do something scary on those days, right? You want to do maybe sadness, for example, right? At 90% on the 5th, let's say it's the 5th of that month. So on that particular month, maybe I don't want to talk too much about the old, maybe someone who's already passed on, or talking about a deceased family member, or bring up some sad memories. You know, I don't want to discuss very emotional things on that day, because it's very easy for me to get emotional and get sad on that day, and then it might affect my performance. So it sort of tells you how a person's emotional level are. So this, depending on whether you want to use this or not, you can use this for many purposes, like trust, for example. If you understand these areas where like certain percentages, like 13 and 14 of that month, the trust level is higher. When you are trusting of someone, it's easier to, sometimes rely on other people's expertise to help you. When you're not so trusting, sometimes, you question, you're doubting. Even if that person can help you, the cooperation becomes weak. So you can look at for days where the percentage is higher. So this is really useful on trying to gauge how your emotional rhythm are for that particular month throughout the days. And so this page here talks about your structures, okay? Your 5 structures in terms of energies for the year. So we add on, this is your natal, and then the annual forecast, how much stronger or weaker the elements are, the luck pillar, how much stronger or weaker the elements are, and that particular month and day, how the elements work out. So this tells us operational styles, okay? Sometimes how we work together with the team, how the team dynamics are, whether you like something, dislike something, why is it you're so frustrated certain months, why certain days you're more productive. These energy fields will tell you that. And if you want to go down to specific, the 10 gods or the 10 stars, you can look at this. When the 10-year cycle, the luck pillars, what has increased and what has decreased over time. On a particular year, what has increased or decreased over time, or a particular day or month, what has increased or decreased over time for one of the stars or all of the stars, the 10 gods inside your chart. So you actually can pinpoint down to knowing, okay, if I want the eating god, specifically I'm focusing on eating god because I'm going to write a book, for example, I'll look at the years or the luck pillars where the percentage is higher and on an increase, and this is the time where I'm most productive, most expressive, will be able to turn my ideas into words and be able to express it very well in a book or a blog or a course or something that I want to create. Okay, so these are energy patterns. So you can actually see in detail, it's displayed this way in the chart. So natal, annual, luck pillars and months. And then here you can see the increase and decrease in terms of the 10 gods in detail. So you can see decrease and increase on a year basis, decrease or increase on a 10-year luck cycle basis, and also on a daily basis if you are using the 10 gods in the chart. So those are that's what we call energies, okay? The 5 element energies, strength impacting the chart. So this saves the average practitioner a lot of time trying to figure out what's the strength of a particular star, right? What's the strength of a Jap wood or Yin wood or Sin metal and all that in the chart. So it all just displays out for you, makes it easy for you to read the chart, okay? So there are many more parts to the Destiny Explorer. And if you want to continue further, then let's watch part 3.
Check inside the description for the link.